See, I've lived in Metropolis most of my life, and I can't figure out how some yokel from Smallville is suddenly getting every hot story in town.
But we're proof that black and white can work together, as long as we get paid.
My God, man. Do you know what this means? This skitter's gonna be turned upside down, I tell you, upside down. If you get on his bad side, brother, you're done for. Now, it's only a matter of time before he finds out, and when he does, no matter where he is, get ready, gentlemen, because hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming. Hell's a-coming.
You think you're the best? I hope you are. A Gundam mobile suit is a fully articulated, fully equipped machine, armed with the most sophisticated weaponry known to man. To be a complete Gundam pilot, you must train on both Gundam systems. Believe me, gentlemen, to beat the best, you have to be the best.
Hey, this is Stephanie Shea, and you're listening to Gundam at MAHQ.
Damn! Good kick, Lee.
It was an accident.
That's okay. We'll just say you tried to catch a cab.
Welcome everybody back to Gundam and MAHQ. This is one of your hosts, Neo, and joining me is the Soul.
What's up, everybody, man? Welcome.
And the Chris. Guys, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. And you are joining us for episode 297 of Gundam and MAHQ. In this episode, we're going to be doing two topics. Yes, two topics. So it's going to be great. We're going to be doing a little bit of change though. We won't be doing the news, because what we're going to do is we're going to make one of our topics some of the news that came out of the recent San Diego Comic-Con, and then our first topic will be season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy, which was unceremoniously canceled off of Paramount and saved by Netflix. So, guys, anything before we get into our first topic of night for Star Trek Prodigy?
Me, nah, man. I just want to say this show is as always a couch safe zone.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
It is, man.
Keep those poser guys, those poser hillbilly guys from Ohio from it, right?
There you go.
Yeah. I just find it funny where there's like on the internet now. It's internet, so he's the force. Sometimes it'd be the force of good, where you just see these pictures of like, it's a couch in a street and just says, "Hey guy, call me." Like, So
now I understand why grandmas everywhere put plastic on their couches. I understand now. I understand.
Right? Your grandma wasn't crazy. She just knew about couch fuckers.
Yeah, I knew it.
So. Yeah.
Woo! Good times.
Chris, anything on MAHQ? Anything? I'm sure you probably banned about 42 people since I opened the show here. Anything?
That is correct. This is not MAHQ related, but I will be appearing this month as a guest on Giant Robot FM.
Oh,
nice.
Recording in between this episode and our next one. Don't know when it'll be out. Probably still sometime this month, and we'll be talking about the Super Robot Wars Original Generation OVA.
Oh wow! So they got the right guy.
I'll be joining their discussion about episode 1, because they do very long breakdowns and they devote an entire episode to one episode.
Oh wow, that sounds like a certain podcast back in the day, right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, their episodes are very long. I'm like, oh, y'all like to suffer just like we did.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would like to say, as always, when you have a moment, if you've never been there, please visit mahq.net. That's the Mecha Anime headquarters. Add that to your favorites. And as always, MAHQ is brought to you by our sponsor, Band Deodorant. Make sure get yourself a stick of Band. I'll see you.
Actually, for years we using Mecha Anime headquarters because people just didn't know what the heck it was.
Right.
So we basically went the ARP route of it's just the letters now.
It's just the letters. Oh man,
just the letters.
The meaning will disappear from history.
I have a question though. So, bro, is Band still around?
Yeah, apparently so. I was shocked because I remembered it when y'all talk about banding. It's like I always like to look up something with the name Band in it, whether it be U-Band Coffee or Band Deodorant. And Band Deodorant still is still out and about, man. This is what it looks like now.
I still don't understand. I still don't understand people that like marketing people for deodorants. Mm-hmm. Why they never just did the stuff at the conventions. Like that's the untapped market. Like you have to sit there.
Deodorant for all the otaku.
Would not be afraid to sell it there. I know a lot of them think they're gonna make enemies of fucking otakus. It's like, no, it's desperately needed.
No, it's needed.
Some people don't take showers on a daily basis.
Like all these places.
Comic-Con, that's all I heard. All about this past Comic-Con, I heard about the funk there too. So it's like, man, anywhere where nerds gather, there's plenty of them that don't shower on a daily basis, and especially when they travel. And it's like, bro, come on, man. And don't even bring fresh change of clothes. And it's not to say every one of us, most of us do, but there's a lot that don't, and it ruins it for the rest of us.
Yeah, but also too, I mean, when
Degree needs to get their asses in there, man. That just makes sense.
When you're in a room with like 1,000 people.
Deodorant is for omega males.
Omega males? What the hell's an omega male? I haven't heard this one.
Fucking
that's the new type. It's even worse than beta males.
Oh, okay.
Or Sigmas. Okay. Fucking Sigmas. Okay. Yeah, man, it's not a good look or smell, man. But yeah, if Degree or one of these deodorant brands would help to sponsor these things and give out free samples, they'd be the heroes of the communities, man.
Actually, I will put this out to the
so called Procter & Gamble, man. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, I'll put this out to the deodorant companies of America. Like, if you want somebody to be the face, I'll do it for a small nominal fee.
Someone's got to bridge the gap, homie. Someone's got to do it.
6 figures at least. But I'll go do it. I will go and spray these assholes down and try to get this stuff. I'll push it for you.
Get Unilever on the phone.
Exactly. Unilever, Procter & Gamble.
Johnson and motherfucking Johnson. Somebody.
Do they do deodorant? I don't know. There's so much consolidation in these industries. That
Well,
I don't even know
Old
anymore.
Spice does. Somebody get them.
Yeah, Old Spice. Exactly. Of anybody, you think Old Spice would have done it? Like, is those crazy commercials that they have? But yeah. So cool. Anything else, Chris?
Nope, that's it.
Right on.
Well, I just want to say before we go into our review of Prodigy is I just want to thank the country of France for giving us good Olympics and the greatest opening ceremonies. I thought it was amazing. People, maybe you want to read stuff and be more cultured before you think that depictions of Greek art is just, it's not all Christian stuff, so go fuck yourself. And they helped me realize that my dream that I talked to the Wonder years ago about my idea. And this was one of these discussions we had one night where it was almost an hour long, and he'll verify what I said on this.
Oh,
unaltered, no drinking, no nothing. Just sat there and talked to him about my view of the ultimate Super Bowl halftime show. France showed it could be done. They had a metal band in their opening ceremonies with blood, headless historical figures and things like that. Mine wasn't going to be that graphic. It was just mainly, Metal Militia, the Red Bull, like those extreme sports guys with, at that time I was thinking the four thrash bands of America: Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, and Slayer. But it shows that it can be done. So, thank you, France, for that. And Super Bowl, if you want me to plan the next halftime show, I'm available. I have new ideas. We can integrate. Newer bands, because some of those bands, half of them are dead. I think half of Slayer is dead. So it's like, thank you for that. You restored my faith in humanity. So, guys, anything?
No, I'm ready to rock.
Chris, you want to give us a quick synopsis of season 2 of Star Trek Prodigy?
Sure. So, picks up where season 1 left off on Paramount Plus, where it no longer is, which is no longer the home of Star Trek. Not every series, every episode. Not the case anymore. So picking up right where things left off, in destroying the protostar, they created a wormhole, and a distress call got through from Chakotay in the future. And now they are all trainees under Admiral Janeway's supervision on the brand spanking new Voyager A, with the Doctor as their new men, voiced by Robert Picardo.
Hell yeah.
Comprising his role for Voyager. So they get into a whole bunch of timey-wimey misadventures to really understate things. Gwyn goes to her homeworld to try to, stop the bad first contact that happens in the future, to let them know, hey, Starfleet is cool. We don't want to be assholes about it. But unfortunately, she has already been beaten to the punch by, what's her name, played by Jamila Jamil? Asensia.
Asensia, yeah.
Who has poisoned the minds of all of the leadership into thinking that the Federation is bad and we need to become very militant. And Gwyn starts to get unstuck in time. She meets her father, who is not yet a diviner and is instead a very nice, chill astronomer. So that's quite a journey he goes on to go from being that to becoming the diviner that we saw in season 1. Meanwhile, everybody on Voyager gets into more timey-wimey hijinks. They all end up back together, and they meet Wesley Crusher, of all people, in full Traveler mode, who basically is cosplaying as the Doctor because he's like very wacky.
That's what I was going to say. You stole my thunder on that.
Yeah. Reveals that the Langoliers are coming to destroy
Yes!
the prime Star Trek universe, and he wants to save them. They end up meeting with Chakotay, who, they messed everything up because a little tiny change caused the Protostar to not go into the past, and Chakotay got stuck on this desolate planet for 10 years, and they have to go get him back into shape and remind him of who he is and what he's about, and fix up the rickety Protostar. They do that. They're still dealing with the Langoliers after all that's resolved, and they've got to, stop Essentia because she has captured Wesley Crusher and is creating timey-wimey based weapons to fuck with the Federation, and they have to send the Protostar back in time like it's supposed to, so that they can undo the paradox and stop the Langoliers from wanting to eat the Prime Universe. And when all is said and done, they do manage to do that. Everything is saved. But unfortunately, we then intersect with the attack on Mars from Picard, and Utopia Planitia is destroyed, and Starfleet decides to abandon the Romulans, and they also decide to abandon their scientific efforts, and they want to decommission the Protostar class, which they just finished the second ship, but Janeway convinces them to have it become a training ship, and Dahl and everyone get assigned to it, and this ship is called the USS Prodigy. And Dahl, having learned many life lessons along the way, decides to not be the captain because he feels that Gwyn has earned that honor, and go off into places unknown for their next or maybe never adventures.
Man, what a journey.
Yeah.
Credits.
Cool. So, Soul Bro.
All right, man. Well, man,
what do you think
about season 2?
Yes. No. Season 3.
Season 3, man. Well, I'll step into the future. No, man, season 2 was such a joy to watch. I if you expected like a harsh critique of the season, you're not gonna get it. I didn't get to it as fast as I wanted to. Chris was probably the one that got to it the fastest and crammed it within 3 days. I think you watched it.
3 days I blew through the whole thing. Yes,
I didn't start watching it until the following weekend because there was a couple of things I had to take care of that weekend, so I didn't get the chance to crack it open. But once I did, I couldn't fucking stop. And I watched it, I'd say within about 3 days. I started on that Friday night, and then I watched it all throughout Saturday and Sunday. It's funny, a friend of ours, because my wife was out of town, so we're babysitting these.
He blazed it in 2 days.
Yeah, shit.
Wow.
Yeah, I know Steve Shives. Yeah, Steve Shives. I watched his review, and he said he knocked it out in 2 days as well. So I was like, yo, that's fucking wild. I take it back. I think he did it in one. But that's wild. Yeah, I was sitting there watching it, and we had some friends. I had some friends come over. My wife's friends, primarily helping to take care of a bunch of kittens that we've are fostering right now. And they came over, and the mother of that group was a big fan of Voyager and hadn't really sat down to watch Prodigy. And it's like I told her, like, this is pretty much a legit sequel to Voyager. I know you're a big fan of Janeway, and she sat down and watched like 10 whole episodes with me from episode 5 to 15. So it's like, man, you got hooked. And then she went back home to start the show from scratch. But yeah, it was quite addictive to watch. You could split the show up into kind of like four parts, which I appreciated watching the Trek Culture reviews. Pointing out all the Easter eggs and stuff like that, because they broke it up into 5 episode increments for their reviews as well. So shout outs to them. But yeah, the first part is them being Starfleet cadets. The second part is encountering a lot of timey-wimey stuff, and also Wesley Crusher. And then the third part is working with Chakotay to get the Protostar back up and running. And the final part is the showdown with Essentia. And each part has kind of a significant feel to me. A lot of two-parters, but that was the case in the original series as well. But some standout episodes to me, of course, is Wesley's first appearance in the series. I had no idea it wasn't ruined for me, So I know a lot of people who it was ruined for, because anybody who was reviewing the show would put Wesley in the goddamn thumbnail. And after I watched the episode, I started to see that on my YouTube feed. I was like, I'm glad I didn't see this, because I'd have been mad as hell. But seeing his appearance and seeing Wesley be an actual character and to pick up where his character left off from Next Gen was outstanding. He's very, very erratic or eccentric, as you would expect a guy like him who's transitioning different universes, timelines, stuff like that to be. We didn't even get a shade of that when he showed up in Picard, but that was kind of a tag for Picard season 2. But just to see how a lot of the storylines from this season tied into Voyager, and you guys will have to help me because I only watched the first half of Voyager. So at a certain point, I'd love to hear how you feel that this season or this series thematically ties into things that Voyager may have left things dangling from, or if there's any kind of spiritual connections to Voyager besides some of the key characters. But when it comes to Wesley, seeing how his journey with the Traveler is still going on, and that he's now he's running the supervisors, which are people like Gary Seven that supervise certain points in time, and seeing throwbacks to that episode of Star Trek that featured Gary Seven, little nods and stuff like that. In this series was out the blue to me. I never expected to see something that would reference that far back in Star Trek in this series. But then again, Prodigy has shown us time and time again that there are ties back to the original series for Star Trek, and this is just one of the biggest ones that I was delighted to see. This series went hard too, man. People got killed this season or wiped completely out of existence, man. That was a little rough to see when they went to the planet where Wesley was hiding out, and it was the Andorian and I forget the name of the Vulcan girl. I have to look it up, but they were down with an away team, and that one away team member, the red shirt, gets completely wiped out of existence. And when they come back to the ship, it's like, yeah, we were with.
They're like, who?
Yeah, we're with so and so, and Janeway says, who's so and so? I was like, God damn! It's not only are you dead, you are forgotten. Only to see that a bunch of other crew members got wiped out, but luckily for them, Wesley was able to reverse time to bring them back, so that was kind of cool that all those people didn't stay dead. But that was pretty ruthless when Jay was trying to escape the bridge, and then all these other red shirts were getting wiped out. It's like, man, that's harsh. But it didn't spare the rod this season, man. Another favorite episode of mine was the Parallel Universe episode. The shattered cracked mirror. That's the one. I didn't expect them to go to
the Mirror Universe.
The Mirror
one?
Universe one was so silly.
Even the whales are evil. Even the whales are evil.
Fucking.
Oh my god.
I thought the coolest shit ever though.
Shout outs to Bad Jillian.
Yes, yeah, Jillian. Which for those who don't remember, that's the name of the scientist from the 4th Star Trek movie that specialized in whale studies and all that stuff, and they named the whole whale after her. That's so fucking cool. But the coolest,
but for all you know, she could be George and Gracie's granddaughter.
Yeah, she could very well. Well, actually, the producers they did confirm that whale is related to them. So on one of the panels, I want to say at Comic-Con, they talked to the Hagemans, and I believe they're the ones that confirmed it. I'll look it up later.
So,
I'll
let you just to pause real quick. I've
Sure.
always tried to understand this. So, the whale thing started as like kind of a joke that they're in the starships, but then like this show and of course Lower Decks kind of went with it, and it's almost I've seen online that it's kind of like canonical that there's whales in the starship, so they help with the navigation and stuff like that.
I don't know about whales, but I know they were using dolphins and belugas. I guess ever
belugas
since
are whales.
Yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah, belugas are whales.
Silly me.
Yeah,
but that's a whole humpback.
I can tell you the origin of this is that they had cetacean ops in the Star Trek: The Next Generation technical manual, which shows like all of the technical workings of the Enterprise D, and it has blueprints. Then there's also like a separate like full blueprints of the Enterprise D, and they have cetacean ops. They also have the rubber duck in there, which is where that joke on Lower Decks came from.
The rubber duck, bro.
And then cetacean ops showed up on Next Gen, I think, on some like LCARS displays. You know, or it might have been mentioned dialogue here or there, but it was never actually seen until Lower Decks, and then of course Prodigy ran with it even more.
Hell yeah!
But they're there to help they're there to help navigate the ship, right? Yeah.
Think of it this way: you remember Gundam X, the D Navi system?
Yes, yes.
Same concept, but just not a not bad version of it.
Didn't Sequest also have that too? Darwin, I want to say although Sequest is a completely different franchise. That was
You mean Underwater Star Trek?
Yeah, Underwater Star Trek, basically. Yeah, yes. Yeah, they had something like that on there. But yeah, props to Daniel Mason in the chat, longtime listener and show contributor. He says the Hagemans did confirm that George and Gracie are the ancestors of the whale in of course Prodigy on board the Voyager A. So that's awesome, man. But yeah, that was another episode I really enjoyed. The episode I probably enjoyed the most, though. Let me see here. Gosh, it was the tip of my tongue. Hang on a second. Oh man.
I do find that it Prodigy further confirms that the greatest threat ever to the Klingon Empire were the Tribbles. Like, it wasn't Starfleet, it wasn't anything else. It's just the freaking Tribbles.
You reminded me. This wasn't
the greatest threat to the Klingons.
It wasn't
the most over the top. I'll die fighting, and they're going together. I think what was it? Was it in Deep Space Nine where Odo's like the great Klingon hunt where you're just killing like
Tribbles left and right?
animals?
Yep.
So it's like, I think it's hilarious. I think it's one of the greatest like in jokes that the thing like this great proud warrior people and their whole the thing that always that was the detriment to their society was these little fuzzballs.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Tribbles for two reasons. Number one, this series establishes that Ragtag is the one that solved the replication problem, or the figured out how to spade and neuter Tribbles. So much so it has lasting effects going all the way to even Discovery, because Discovery has a Tribble crewmate on that ship.
Yeah.
And it's like, that would not be possible if you could stop that thing from procreating or replicating, or have some way to control that. So that's cool. The other thing about that episode, although it's not my favorite,
also name checked that idiot Larkin from Short Treks.
They did.
Destroyed a starship by having too many Tribbles.
Yes. On it. It's so stupid. But one of my favorite Easter eggs in this entire series, and this might be the first time I've seen a hip hop reference in Star Trek, period, is the title of the Tribble episode, A Tribble Called Quest. I tripped out when I saw that shit, because one of my favorite groups of all time is A Tribe Called Quest. So to see that they had an episode that references that is so crazy. So props to the staff behind the show, and Keith Sweet II. Sean Bishop, who I believe, let me see here. I want to say he wrote the episode. But these are the guys. It was Keith Sweet II that wrote that episode. Thank you, sir, for making that homage. I thought that was cool, and it's just a fun episode overall. It's good. It's cool to see a Klingon show up in this series. It's not often. We saw one in season 1, but he didn't stick around very long. But the two-parter, of course, with Will Wheaton returning as Wesley Crusher, I thought was probably the standout episodes for me. Although I did like a lot of the stuff towards the end, especially the final battles and whatnot. They stepped up the budget this season. The design of the characters, the animation, I thought was sharp and good. Watching the show completely and getting back into the groove of it reminded me so much of Arcane, because Arcane is similarly animated as well. And the woman who plays the voice of Gwyn, who also plays Lucy in Fallout, is also the voice of Jinx in Arcane as well. So there's a bit of at least some connection between this show and that. Also the style of writing too. If there's any other show, if you're missing watching new Prodigy and you want something new to watch Arcane. It's very similar in quality and animation style. I think you dig it quite a bit, even if you don't like League of Legends, which I don't. But great show though. But yeah, the overall vibe of the season was great. I love how the characters evolve this season. Going to Zero and seeing how Zero transitions into an organic body, and seeing how Zero deals with that situation, how they have been wanting to touch and have a tactile reaction to things, and have never had the chance, and also forming a connection with Majel, the Vulcan cadet who was named after Gene Roddenberry's wife, who also played Luxwana Troy and Nurse Chapel. So, just seeing how those two start to have a connection, and watching Dal and also, gosh, what's her name? The main female. Dang it! What's that? Gwen. Thank you. I had a list in front of me, and then I changed the page. So, but yeah, having Gwen and Dal and how their relationship evolves. I mean, their friendship, I should say. But seeing that Dal goes through this kind of evolution this season, where he realizes he's not best suited to be the captain, and finding a mentorship with Chakotay of all people, I thought was really nice. Chakotay, of anybody, who was the first officer for Janeway and had to go from being a captain in the MAHQ to serving under a woman who is in charge of a ship under an organization that he defected from, and how that evolved him, is almost a similar journey that Dal's on, where Dal has to realize that he's not best being in charge, but he does have talents that can benefit the whole team, and he has to find his place. And I thought that his character probably had the biggest journey throughout this whole season, although Gwen had a substantial one too, especially having to confront Essentia and dealing with her own situation where she was out of phase, and the stuff with her father, and seeing her father in a much better light this season, where it's not the version of him that's way in the future that is corrupted and vengeful. Instead, it's a younger, more optimistic version that we get to see bits and pieces of, and how those two connect, and how she gets a connection with her father back. I thought that was so nice as well. And to seeing the other characters flourish, even Murph finding out that his natural element is being in the water. That was so cool, or at least one of the elements that he could benefit by being in. And he's always full of surprises, so to see that was great. And seeing hologram Janeway come back and finding a way to return that character to the show, even though we had real Janeway there too, but was an excellent twist of events also. And Chakotay, his whole journey was fascinating. How he spent 10 years on that planet, the grief that he had with losing his crew, especially his first officer, and what he was dealing with. I didn't expect us to have so much Chakotay this season. I figured that maybe in the last couple episodes we'd finally get returned to us. But halfway through the season, we get him. And he has to kind of get back on the horse and realize that he still has a role to play, and that he still has to perform his duty. And he has to kind of shake off a lot of the angst and trauma that he's been through, and to see him evolve and see him and Janeway reunite was one of my favorite moments of the series. Going back to the cracked mirror episode, the thing he said to Mirror Janeway, is like, no matter what dimension it is, I could never hurt you, was one of the coolest fucking lines I've ever seen that man utter. I thought that was so cool. But overall, the series had such momentum from start to finish. Watching how things came to a head in the final episodes, and taking on Essentia, and the spectacle of the final battles, and then the final set piece was very well constructed. And then setting the stage for the upcoming elements that would kick off Picard season 1 was a nice surprise as well. Seeing that unfold. I won't get into that too much. I'm sure you guys will talk about it. But overall, I love this season. I didn't want to see it end. How they left the door open for more, I thought was a masterstroke. I'm glad it didn't end. Star Trek rarely ends on a final note. You always leave the door open. But I really would honestly like to see at least a movie follow-up for this. And after Paramount goes through its money issues and whatnot, maybe they'll consider it. But it's an excellent show. If you are a Star Trek fan and you've never shared this with your children and you have kids, it is the perfect, but it's also perfect for any Star Trek fans, period. It's not just for kids. You can see the aesthetic and think that, but once you get into the flow of the story and you see exactly where the show goes from A to B, and how the characters evolve throughout the series, it's one of the best Trek shows ever fucking made, man. And if you're a kid listening, I'm sorry I said fucking. But back to you guys.
Chris?
All right, before I get into my thoughts, I have two burning questions that I need to get answers to and know what you will think.
Go for it.
Number one, Elle, does she have a white patch of hair on the front of her head, or is that just the glare of the light reflecting off her head?
Which character are you talking about? It cut off when you said it.
Majel.
Oh.
Majel.
Oh, I think
I
she's got a white patch. Yeah, because from any angle the light hits. Because I was wondering that too, but that mark, that skunk mark, is consistent. So I would say it's white bangs that she has in that specific spot.
It just seems so weird. I watched intently across the entire season, and I could never reach a conclusion.
Because it wouldn't matter.
What
like
the hell it is.
The room could be lit in red and it's still white. When it was I noticed anytime there was like a red alert, or they're in like a situation where the interior of the cabin would change, you'd figure it would kind of diminish. Or if she was in shadow, but it stayed white the whole time. So I think it's white, to be honest.
That random white patch, one would say, is illogical.
Yes. Hilarious. What's your other question?
Number two, Chakotay. Years by himself on the Protostar. You think him and Hologram Janeway,
I think
the Protostar stays on the Protostar?
I think that might be possible. Yeah, and they've alluded in several ways in this season that a relationship was flourishing between the two of them. Even looking at their mirror counterparts and how affectionate they were with each other, I think that maybe he did something when they were, because maybe he never thought he was going to get off that planet.
10 years is a long time.
Yeah, and he never expected to leave. So it's like he might have caved into that. They might have caved into that. You never know. And seeing their conversation about her, when she was concerned about her own existence, and that that Chakotay said, no matter what, we're going to figure out a way to get you, be able to transport you off of this, so that way you're not lost like we lost her in season 1. So I thought it was a very cool conversation, and the fact that they solidified that she was going to still be around. So yeah, I think there's some kind of connection. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely is. Yeah, I would say that.
So I will say, as I said before, when we talk about season 1, it definitely has been reinforced and even furthered by season 2. This is one of the best Star Trek shows ever made.
Yes, sir.
I think you could make the case that it's the best out of New Trek. It's definitely the most consistent Star Trek show of the current era, even edging out Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. I think it's just a solid ride from start to finish across 40 episodes. And out of those 40 episodes, there's not a one that I would say is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that at all.
I can't even say that for Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks. They
have stinkers.
They have some stinkers. Not too many, but like they have some stinkers. Yeah. And obviously, Discovery is a roller coaster.
Oh yeah.
And so is Picard, especially the second season of Picard.
Good Lord.
Out of all of these modern shows, Prodigy is the most consistent. It really honors everything that came before it. It does make references to things, but they're not gratuitous just for the sake of nostalgia or whatever. I feel like this show kind of got hit by the same curse that befell Young Justice on Cartoon Network. That too many old people were watching it and not enough young people. Like, I know that some people have, tried Trek fans have watched it with their kids to try to get them into them. Dale actually tried that with his son, who was 7 at the time, but he wasn't too interested in it. So, it works very well as a Star Trek show. I don't know how well it works as a kids show for the primary intended audience. It feels like a show for old people. It has a family sensibility and a sense of wonder, but I don't know how well this show would have ever appealed to kids. Obviously, I'm too old to answer that question, so I don't know. But it still is a great show, regardless of if it had the wrong audience.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful show, especially season 2. Like,
absolutely.
Just the visuals of wormholes,
the nebulas,
just nebulas, the planets. Like, it's just some of the most beautiful
the
imagery
Starship
ever
porn.
seen in Star Trek.
And it's a show to watch in
Starship,
4K.
the Starship porn alone is worth the admission.
Yes.
Like it rivals.
Yeah, I mean,
it rivals the original series movies in Starship porn. It's like oh, Jesus. I mean,
Voyager A is a great design
beauty.
that carries on the legacy of its predecessor.
Oh, yeah.
And Protostar still manages to still impress even when it's a beaten up rust bucket before they get it back into ship shape. But yeah, there's just so much great design work, so much great character work. Wesley obviously has been a controversial character since 1987. Look, we all know that Wesley is Gene Roddenberry's self-insert Gary Stu character. I mean, Gene Roddenberry's middle name is Wesley. So that's no coincidence about why Crusher named the way that he is. And there was so much hate directed at Will Wheaton for decades for something that was not his fault, and he, as we now know, had so many problems going on in his life at the time that he didn't need this on top of that. And I feel like this series really redeemed Wesley and showed his potential and showed what he could do, and he works so much better as a Doctor Who cosplayer than he does as like a know-it-all kid who knows
Wesley
the
Crusher
Enterprise
boy
better
genius.
than the experienced Starfleet officers.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
he's better than Wesley Crusher boy genius.
It's the best.
It's so much better.
It's the best you've ever seen him. Honestly speaking, I mean, I never was too mad at Wesley in Next Generation. He could be annoying, but I was that same age, so I was close that character in age, so he didn't seem that annoying to me, except for maybe in some episodes in retrospect. But
season 1, which season 1 was not good for anybody. On that series,
wasn't.
and he did have his moments later on. I mean, one of the best episodes of Next Generation is The First Duty.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Wheaton was phenomenal in that episode. Everybody was.
And then another good episode.
Is that the Academy Death one?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
that's
with
a good.
Not Tom Paris.
That's a good. Not Tom Paris.
Yeah. Good old Nick Locarno.
Yeah, but I feel like that Wesley's last episode on Next Gen, especially with the not at all subtle stuff about indigenous tribes and colonization and forced migration, it was just not the right episode to have Wesley go out on, and that episode always left a sour note in my mouth. And the random silent cameo that he has in Nemesis as a result of his part being cut down to practically nothing, confused the situation by showing him at Riker and Troy's wedding in a freaking Starfleet uniform.
Yeah. And
we got that little tiny crumb of the post-credits scene at the end of season 2 of Picard showing him as a traveler, which now you find out came after they were already using him on Prodigy. Yeah. So even though Picard came out first, it was already in the works first on Prodigy because of the very long lead time for the animation. So, taking those two things together, I'm glad to see that Wesley finally got to have the ending that he deserved in terms of showing what his character could be. So it's sort of like Season 3 of Picard erased the stench of Nemesis for everybody else from Next Gen, and Season 2 of Prodigy erased the bad taste of Wesley's fate for Wesley.
Yes, indeed. I will say that when his last episode as a series regular on Next Gen was a solid episode. The one where they crash land on that desert world and have to take refuge in the cave, and they find that water that's protected by a security system or whatnot. That was it was a good episode of bonding between him and Captain Picard. But this is definitely a much better send off for the character, and I'm glad Will Wheaton got a shot of playing this character in full again. I thought that was really cool for them to do that for him, especially since he's been the host of the Ready Room for several years now.
Well, it makes sense though too, because if he's this super genius guy, it almost makes sense that like just being in this world of like confinement, it makes more sense that he's a Doctor Who cosplayer. Like it seems like if he's that smart, he's really should be doing something like that. So it's I mean, I think it really makes his character. I was never annoyed with him. You kind of get it because I didn't realize that he was, a stand-in for Gene Roddenberry. I thought he was just more of like, oh, this is we're going to have it where we're going to have a kid so we can not only get their parents, but, maybe the kids will watch this because they'll see Wesley Crusher, boy genius, helping fix the Enterprise. And, because you're talking this is like the late 80s, early 90s when this is going on. And that's like the whole time of like, kids are girls or boys or geniuses, and they're always, so that made sense to me. But yeah, I mean, I think in this aspect, I think it really makes his character better. And, and then seeing when they bring in his mom, and I was like immediately having on the interweb, I'm like, is that actually the actress? I'm like, oh shit, that is the actress that's voicing this.
Which is
that
funny
is
because
freaking cool.
It's a return to the series because she was in season 1 of Prodigy as well as a hologram.
Yeah,
It's cool to see Gates McFadden come back.
Although I will say, even though it was an unexpected surprise to see her and to have, finally like reunion between her and Wesley, I was definitely not expecting a cameo by baby Jack Crusher.
Right?
To really tie that into Picard.
They even nailed the fact that she lives in England. When you see the background of the exterior of her home, you can see this clearly England. So that was super cool that they had that consistency in story.
Well, I will say this. This did the tie-ins to other things. I know this is gonna hurt you, Soulbro, because I know you love the lower decks. You love all the fan service and all this, but this is fan service done right.
Yeah,
this show did fan service right, and
it worked for the story.
And it worked for the story. Yes, it
I'm
wasn't
cool.
gratuitous. It wasn't any of this stuff. It wasn't shoehorned. I mean, even the fact that they can bring in that Admiral Picard right now is overseeing the Romulan evacuation. Lower decks, they would have shown him. Oh, there he is. Oh, you can see him. He's sitting there. He's directing.
Both shows are formatted differently, so it's more visual in Lower Decks, but this
is formatted good, excellent, a better. That one's just formatted for idiots.
I'm not. I can love both of them, and I can enjoy both of them for what they are. But yeah, when it comes to it being woven into the story, you best believe that Prodigy did it better.
I will quote a Transformer. That says, "Prodigy superior, Lower Decks inferior." So that's the way I'm gonna put the T. So.
You're the worst. Good shit.
Go ahead, Chris.
Back to you, Chris. God damn it.
I tried to steal your thunder.
So other things, Michelle, I think, was an interesting character, and I like how she, mixed up the dynamic of the pre-existing crew. And to note, once again, because of the long lead time for the computer animation, the addition of Michelle to this show was already in the works before T'Lyn was added to Lower Decks.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting that, both of these animated shows added a female Vulcan to, like, mixed it up with the established crew, but it
Mhm.
was completely coincidental, and this one was actually done first.
That's so wild.
Like,
Well,
but in some ways, it kind of makes sense because like, aren't they like playing it? They're like playing it too in the Federation, pretty much. Like, I mean, Vulcan's like, I mean, that's like, that's like us and but maybe not the British now, but maybe the French or the Australians in the U.S. Like, it is like our really good allies, good bestest allies. So it would kind of make sense.
I will also say, calling it here because these shows do all set up little references to each other that you don't necessarily catch at the time until you see the other half in retrospect. The fact that the doctor said line to the effect of, "I haven't seen a crew this dysfunctional since the Cerritos." I guarantee you that is a call forward to him popping up on season 5 of Lower Decks.
I hope
Probably,
so.
yeah.
That'd be so cool. Because Prodigy takes place a little bit after Lower Decks. Lower Decks is somewhere in
Yes.
it's about 2 years before.
About 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, before
this
Prodigy.
show.
So I believe you're right about that, and that's super cool if that's the case.
Let me see what else. Just really good Star Trek storytelling. They managed to reference every single show. I mean, they even throw in references to Discovery. They throw in a blink if you miss it reference from Wesley talking about the Kelvin timeline.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
He also makes a reference to the mycelial plane. He said, "You're not supposed to know about that, though." Yeah, that shit was pretty cool.
Yep.
Which is a reference to Discovery, for those that don't know.
So they managed to reference pretty much every Star Trek show out there, and in a naturalistic way. I think they had to, because of the fact that the target audience is kids, and that forced them to make the references and the connections a little bit more subtext rather than just text, like say Lower Decks and Picard do. So I will agree slightly with Neo that I think that Prodigy handled all of these connections and references better than Picard and Lower Decks did.
Because they had to simplify it, and they didn't have to rely on it. I think that's I think that's what makes it so nice. And they didn't.
Yachts.
No, go ahead.
Yahtzee asks in the chat, the enemy flagship in the end looked like a Reaper from Mass Effect. Absolutely, and this is not first time I think you could say that Mass Effect has been referenced in Star Trek. Just look at the end of season 1 of Picard.
Yeah, it's true. All those ships.
Yeah. I think that you can do references and not have them just be pointless nostalgia. I mean, look at if you want a really bad example, look at Ready Player One. That's just fucking walking nostalgia that has no deeper meaning to anything, and it just references stuff to show that it can.
Yeah.
And there's no weight behind any of those things that are referenced. And sure, is it cool to see the RX-78 show up in Ready Player One? Absolutely. Yeah. Does it have any impact or any of the other things that show up? No, not at all.
Not really.
I mean, the fact that you can have, for instance, in Space Jam 2 goes to show that like forced connections between things is just the way that Hollywood operates now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, kudos to Prodigy for going the route that it did. It really feels to me like it's capturing this era of Star Trek very well, because it is set very close to all these other shows and movies from the 24th century. And it feels like it's really just picking up the ball where they left off in 2001 when Voyager ended.
Yeah.
And I think it does an even better job with that than Lower Decks, which again is not to shit on Lower Decks. I love Lower Decks, but obviously they're playing things for laughs, and Prodigy, even though it has humor, is still mostly playing things straight.
Yeah.
So it really feels like, on the one hand, we're going back to everything from the 90s and early aughts era of Star Trek, which is what many fans claim they've wanted all along from Trek and not what these other shows are doing. And on the other hand, it's a very modern show in terms of some of the themes, obviously the gorgeous computer animation. So I really feel that a show like Prodigy captures the blend of old and new Star Trek. And if we can see other shows strike this same balance, I think that will, sustain the franchise and keep fans happy and keep it going for a long time.
Yeah, I agree.
Another thing that stood out for me, man, Essentia is one of the most vicious villains
Yes!
in Star Trek ever.
Yeah.
Like, man, she is something else. Like, she is just like so unbelievably vicious.
Yo, she was about to shoot Wesley in the face.
And vindictive.
If he was about to get beamed out, he'd have been murked in the worst way possible, man. She's ruthless as hell, man. She's so twisted. It was really cool to see her past self turn out to be a much better person than she is after seeing how demented her future self was. That was a nice change of pace. I thought she would be kind of echoing the same, but it looks like she don't want to turn into that.
Kudos to Jamila Jamil for playing such a vile character.
Absolutely.
But also the nice past version of her. And also, when they had the whole thing of she captures Wesley and she's creating these time bubbles to like quickly build a vast fleet. It's like, oh, we're doing Yamato up in here now?
Yes.
Like that certainly seemed like a deliberate choice and not a coincidence.
Inspiration, man. That if anything, that is pretty cool. I would think it would be inspiration from Yamato as well. But that's pretty cool that they took that.
Anything
I
else?
will also say that even though this was originally made for Paramount Plus, and you can tell in terms of the pacing, like the fact that it shows up in a two-parter that is the 9th and 10th episodes, like that would have been like the mid-season finale.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
But like the way the story breaks down, it really feels like it's a very long movie in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad that it dropped on Netflix rather than being spread across months and months on Paramount Plus.
Man.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. Yeah. It does make sense. It would have been better just to get it. It was better getting it just all dropped at once. Because it would have been torture
would have loved
waiting
it
for that.
On Paramount Plus, but yeah, it would have been torture waiting week after week and then probably a couple of months after the mid-season finale to pick up from where we left off of meeting Wesley and the Langoliers. So
The Langoliers.
This is a case where I think the binge was a benefit.
Yeah.
Which is not always the case with streaming shows in the modern era.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, but I enjoyed the binge. Don't get me wrong, I did. I like it when they stretch out a bit so that way it stays in the conversation. But to be honest, Prodigy never really was like heavily talked about. Like, say,
there was no conversation.
Like yeah, I mean, people there'll be like blips and blurbs, but nothing like on the level of Game of Thrones or even a live action Star Trek series when it comes to social media and stuff like that. So in this case, it worked. It worked out a lot better.
We know that Prodigy is a show that everybody is sleeping on, even Star Trek fans, because there's a lot of people I saw who, then and even now dismissed it as, oh, it's just some kids show, or oh, it feels like Star Wars rather than Star Trek, which I understand for just the first 2 episodes, but not literally any of the rest. Like, this is one of the most Star Trek shows ever.
Shows of all.
So, I had some factors working against it in terms of discoverability, but once you actually take the time, sit down and watch it, like you realize very quickly what it is that they're doing and what this show is about, and then you're hooked.
Yeah.
So, I think anything that boosts its profile, even if it's people binging and talking about it, like this show needs all the attention it can get.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So back to you, Neo.
Well, I'm going to ask you this question before I go into my stuff. Do you think it benefits in some way that there were only 25 episode or 25-minute episodes? Like, do you feel like, because I personally think it felt the pacing's good because they didn't have all this dead space sometimes or air to fill. And do you think that helped it? I don't know.
I think because
And there's a lot of great TV. Sorry, go ahead, Sobro.
No, animated shows usually run best in half an hour blocks, I would say. When it comes to live action and you have multiple storylines flowing through, I expect about 44 minutes or so. But for animation, yeah, it to me it's the perfect. I'd say the perfect size.
But I don't think it's written as an animated show. Like if I think about it, like the story, I mean, the way it's being delivered, shouldn't matter on the story.
Yeah, there's an argument to be made there, but there's aspects of the show, the way it's written and what the characters do and whatnot that does suit itself more to animation in this case. But there are elements of the show that suit just the antics that the kids get into. The triple episode is made for animation versus live action. For instance, there's a lot of whimsy and fun in that episode versus say a plot-driven heavy episode like a two-parter. Yeah, that even those two-parters are I would say better as a longer episode, but in that particular case. But yeah, there's some episodes of the show that fit that short format a lot better, like Lower Decks does. Lower Decks is a different vibe of show, but it's also a show written for animation because there's a lot of visuals that take up some of the runtime too. So
you're telling me that a live action Star Trek, well, if it was on the same runtime?
Repeat that because the audio cut out. I apologize.
So you're telling me that if a live action Star Trek show had the same runtime, it wouldn't be as good. Like it's not going to work because it's live action, and live action should always be longer. Well, that's what you're saying.
This is a bit of a spoiler for the upcoming news for Comic-Con, but they just announced that a sitcom is coming for Star Trek. That's going to be a 30-minute show per episode. So you're about
right.
We're about to see an execution. Maybe, so I guess we'll see it play out. Yeah, I mean, you could be right. So
I think maybe that's the strength of it. I don't know, Chris. What do you think? I mean, is that a strength here in some ways? Like you kind of get rid of the bullshit.
I mean, it depends how you look at it because there's 5 two-part episodes in Prodigy season 2, and if you look at the run times, the fact it's 20 episodes, like Prodigy is equivalent to a 10-episode live-action season.
Yeah,
right.
So there's really not much difference at all between season 2 of Prodigy and season 5 of Discovery compared to in run
times. Well, there's a lot of differences, but. I
said season 5.
Oh, okay. Season 4. Ooh. Bullet and brain.
There's in terms of the amount of time you're watching, there's not much difference between season 2 of Prodigy and season 5 of Discovery. So, does it work better necessarily? Maybe. I think it really depends on how you structure your story. And, if you're doing a live action series with 45, 50-minute episodes, is the grand story that you're telling, does that sustain itself across the 10 episodes or no? And if the answer is no, and you're just going to filler to pad that out, then obviously you're running into some problems. So it really, I think, depends on what story you were trying to tell across how much time.
Yeah, real quick, shout outs to Mekasan over on the Twitch chat. Mekasan brings up a throwback to Gargoyles that there's kind of an echo.
I was thinking about Gargoyles.
Yeah. Essentia running into her future self, young Essentia running into her future self is a similar storyline to when past Demona runs into her future self and how she's put off and how evil her future self is. It's a nice little parallel. I gotta say, Mekasan, way to dig into crates, man. That's what's up.
And of course, both characters played by British actresses.
Yeah, so. and Star Trek actors.
So my thoughts on that. My thoughts on season 2, and I'll just put it to you blunt. This is a cap off of, like Chris said, this is the best of the new Trek, and it is possibly one of the best of all of Trek.
Ooh, nice.
The storytelling on this. It did not falter. They did things like we said, the parallel tie-ins with other shows, seamless, wasn't gratuitous. didn't seem like it was there to be there just to be there. It made sense within what they're talking about. Taking characters that, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you come in with Janeway. I mean, Janeway was a divisive character coming into this. Chakotay, even. I mean, not necessarily as the character, but the voice actor with some of the nonsense that he was doing before then, and I kind of forgot about all that when I'm watching. I'm like, okay, this is good. And you know, I sometimes feel like it delves more in. It felt like season 2, especially, it delved more into like Starfleet, like what they're facing. You know, how messed up it is. I mean, we get this thing with at the end where, you know, spoiler alert, you know, Janeway's going to retire, and then she gets called back, and it's like, hey, this whole thing was bad. You know, we lost half our fleet. We lost half our crews. You know, the Mars attack. It's bad. Like we can't even like field a fleet to even protect like the inner planets. We don't have anything. So just that little bit just set up the urgency, and the fact of, I think because it was originally made for kids to make it simple. I think that's what the great genius of this is. Because I think one of the problems that you have with movies right now is, you know, for a long time, it's always this overdramatic. There's all these twists and shocking things, and everybody's always trying to do shock value. And like now, they're always trying to be like the water cooler talk, like they say, and trying to do it instead of just telling a coherent story. I mean, we've seen this with, I don't know, countless things. Game of Thrones. I mean, started great and then ends up a dumpster fire, and it's just because they're trying to do things that just is like, we're trying to just shock and instead of just telling a good narrative and telling a good story. And I think that's the strength of Prodigy. It told a story from beginning to end. It told a story. I mean, it's a simple story. It's a group of misfits that nobody thought anything about. They get together. Somehow they're able to do something that other people can't do, and they save the world and save the universe. Pretty simple. It's a pretty simple story. It's not all this other stuff and just nonsense, and we don't get like evil Dal and all this other stuff. And it's just like it's just simple. It's very simple. And I will say this: people of Disney, especially the MCU people, the producers, you should sit down and understand how time travel and multi-universe stuff. Watch this, because what they did made sense. It wasn't garbage. It wasn't bullshit. I mean, the simple narrative of Wesley talking about the simple timelines took what, 2 minutes maybe?
Yeah,
it made perfect sense.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, Kevin Feige, you might want to watch this, dude, because your stuff, shit. This, good. And it's quite, I mean, you just have to make it simple. It's fantastical things. We don't have to make it more, so secretive and sinister and this and that and blah. They just told it how it was. Yeah, the kids continue to be great characters in this. Janeway, amazing character. You know, she just gets I mean, she's slowly going up the Starship captain list.
Captain Hall of Fame.
I mean,
would you put her on your Mount Rushmore of captains?
I don't know. That's. I mean, you're talking.
I know. Kirk is number one for you. I know.
Kirk,
I know. Picard's
Cisco.
Not on there at all for you.
Kirk, Cisco. Maybe
Pike.
Yeah, outside of what I saw in Comic-Con, but that's a whole other story. But yeah, I mean, but we won't get into that. But the thing is like, you know, it works, and it was simple. And sometimes just telling a simple story that's there to entertain, instead of trying to do all this other things of like shocking and twist and all these other things, it's just like, this is what it's all about. And I mean, I think a lot of people should sit there and take a look at this. Yeah, okay, it didn't perform for the target audience, but it performed for other audiences. And honestly, it really should be. It should be the way forward for most Star Trek narratives at this point. Like, because what it captured too was not just the sci-fi babble; it captured the adventure. Every episode was an adventure, right? Did you feel that way?
Absolutely.
I felt like everything was an adventure, and I don't. I mean, Star Trek always has its serious things, and this one does too. It sits there and gives you, it grasps you and say, you know, here are the ethical dilemmas that you have to deal with. These are some of the things that are going on. I mean, the biggest thing about this is, you know, people that are different that can work together and be friends and you know, and all that. And but the simplicity is the key, and I think that's the biggest thing, and the adventure, because every episode was just, I felt like I was in an adventure. I felt like if I'm going into Star Trek, I want to have that feeling of adventure. I don't necessarily always need to have this doom and gloom. I mean, even with DS9, which has got some of the most horrible, thought-provoking, like ethical dilemma, you know, social commentary episodes ever. I mean, what's that thing right now? They're counting down to that episode where they talk about the, you know, the one I'm talking about, Chris, the one where they go back in time and they're talking about like the cities where like all the undesirable, yeah. So I mean, even that, but there's still a sense of adventure, and that's what we lose in some of these, and that's what it should be. I mean, for all you can say
Prodigy
about... Go ahead.
Another thing about Prodigy that stands out is that, you know, the stakes in season 2 of Prodigy are not just Earth or the galaxy. It's literally the entire universe.
Yeah.
So the big stakes that they have ever been in any Star Trek show, because no other Star Trek show has ever had the stakes be the entire literal universe. That's never been the case. So that's a huge thing. But what Prodigy doesn't do, which Discovery is frequently guilty of, even though it has major stakes, it doesn't make too big a deal out of it being big stakes.
Yeah.
Discovery really
oversells
it. Oversells the stakes, which gets tiresome year after year of it's always huge stakes, and it gets tiresome that you keep like pushing the limit on that every season. Oh, first it was this, now it's this. It's like, guys, like chill out. Can we have a less floating atmosphere with these stakes? So even though they are so high in season 2 of Prodigy, like people aren't freaking out about it or overselling it.
Yeah, and it comes down to the thing.
More understated.
Absolutely.
And I mean, what's always been the big joke in Star Trek is like they have this giant fleet, and yet the Enterprise is always the one that's the only ship that can do this, and this, you know, hundreds of thousands of ships that they probably have all over, and you're the only one that can do this. And in this one, they were truly the only one that could do it because it was about a specific ship going back in time. And you're right, they didn't oversell it because everything else, they just oversell it. Like, you're the only ones Enterprise, you're the only ones Kirk, you're the only ones Picard, you're the only ones whatever. And it's like, it loses itself after a certain point because, right, this is probably the only show in Star Trek where if they lose, actually the fate of the entire universe is altered. Like, I mean, I don't know. I don't know any other. I mean, even with, you know, I guess Star Trek 6 and Nemesis. I mean, those are about relations with enemies, but it's not the entire universe. It's just with enemies. It's, you know, maybe the Dominion War, because that would probably the more encompassing one. But yeah,
even then, that's just the fate of one quadrant out of the galaxy.
Right.
Not the entire universe.
Yeah. So it's
like if the Federation fell to the Dominion, it literally would not have been the end of the universe. Like, it would have sucked for the Federation, but, you know, the universe would have persisted.
They would have lost the wormhole and Deep Space Nine and that whole quadrant. So big deal. But yeah, this is what makes it work. And I think the fact that it was originally intended for children, and you're sitting there trying to make it where it's entertaining for them. In some ways, they inadvertently just made it entertaining for the older Star Trek people, because this is what they wanted. They wanted to go back to just an adventure show where every week you're going to sit back and you're going to see, okay, what are our heroes going to do, and what situations there? Oh, crap, this is what's going on. So, yeah, I think it's, I mean, I think it's, I'm with you guys. I don't think any episode was a bad episode. I felt that everyone was solid. I felt everyone. There were some that were better than others, but I still felt that even the ones that weren't on the tippy top tier, still head and shoulders above even some of the best ones and some of the other offerings that we have. So, guys, anything else before we go to our ratings?
I could just have a quick question. Are you guys excited for Star Wars Prodigy coming out later on this year, aka Skeleton Crew?
No.
Oh my god! I saw some of the.
I'll watch it, but I ain't hyped for it.
Yeah. I'm tempering my expectations as well. It is funny though. It's kind of a DS9 Babylon 5 type situation, because although I'm sure there's elements of Skeleton Crew that will be different, just hearing the plot and how that is very similar to Prodigy. You know, a bunch of kids and in this case an adult in the form of Jude Law take a ship that doesn't belong to them, and they're being pursued throughout the quadrant by pirates and whatnot. Which, you know, the Prodigy was pursued by enemy forces as well, and all that stuff. It's just funny how these things are made at the same time or one after the next, and how the stories are similar. So it's interesting. D23 is going on right now, by the way, which is a big Disney convention. It's happening right now, so we may actually get a trailer for Skeleton Crew this weekend. So I'm just curious to see exactly how similar to Prodigy it will be. But you never know. Sometimes these things have a way of helping each other. If Skeleton Crew is big, maybe some of that love will trickle down to Prodigy when people say, "Oh, this is similar to Prodigy. You should check this out." And you never know. But
no,
yeah,
Prodigy's gonna be the show that 2 years from now people are gonna be bored, and they're gonna watch this on Netflix or wherever it's at that point, and they're gonna rediscover it, and there's gonna be a whole thing. And you know, Star Wars, more power to them. I think, you know, what makes Prodigy work is because it's a very interesting way of taking a character from the past and integrating in that. I don't know what this Star Wars thing will do. And I mean, I think quite frankly with Star Wars right now, probably its best thing to do is just to give it a break. I think it's met its critical mass, but that's a whole different conversation.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, Chris, anything else?
No.
So, bro, what's your rating?
Man, this is gonna be a tough one. It's gonna be a tall one. It's gonna be a big one today, man. This is one of my favorite Star Trek experiences. Period, man.
It's even better than the vaunted Lower Decks.
Hey, I love Lower Decks. I'm a Lower Decks main. I don't give a fuck. Y'all can make fun of me. I'm cool. But I'm gonna give this the honor of 5 Bribbles out of 5. You know, little Bribble, man. They need to make a figurine of Bribble versus Moopsie, man. Oh, Bribble. I hope Bribble survives.
Chris?
Give this 5 horny Mirror Janeways out of 5.
There you go.
Yeah, she really was, wasn't she? That's the only part. It was like, that's the only part. It's like, ooh, this this may not have been for the kids in this one. So,
well, you know, it's just a rule that everybody in the Mirror universe is evil and extremely
horny.
So Randy,
exactly. And then I guess before that, I mean, this has got to be one of the better Mirror episodes too. Like some of them can be, you know, but I think this is one of the better ones. And it seemed appropriate that they went there, especially with the timey-wimey stuff. I'm like, you're going to have to go to the Mirror viewers.
The fact that DS9's last episode of the Mirror Universe was a really dumb Ferengi episode is just like, ugh, really?
Yeah.
And in that episode, we also got Okona, one episode with Okona, and the Enterpriseians on a ship that's captained by Captain Tuvix. So it was crazy to find out about.
Hashtag,
Which was genius that they
justice for
never.
Tuvix.
Justice
Which was
for
genius.
Tuvix!
Which is genius because they never really showed it, which in some
No!
ways I thought was kind of the good
wish.
thing about it. It just keeps you waiting. But yeah.
Man.
And, yeah, hashtag Janeway killed Tuvix. Yeah, I'm gonna give it 5 Murph goatees out of 5.
Yeah, hell yeah.
'Cause he looks so awesome with the goatee.
Murph's still the man. Every time he shows up, man. Murph is putting it in.
Or if that doesn't work, 5 evil whales out of 5 because I mean it's even the whales are evil.
Yes.
It's great. I still laugh that Jacob is voiced by the guy that did Rafi in the League, and if you ever watch that show, it's like
Jason
kids
Mantzoukas.
show and a kid's show in the League, and what Rafi was, it's like ooh, that's whew, okay.
Jacob Hogg and Rafi, man, they need to team up.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason Mantzoukas, man, he's a funny dude, man.
He is that.
Every other weird character he played, like Derek in The Good Place.
Yes. He's always eccentric characters, man.
All right, so that's Prodigy. I guess we'll go into. I don't think we're going to go into everything, but we'll probably hit some of the big things that came out of San Diego Comic-Con. I'm just going to start it off because I just need to know you guys' thoughts about this. It's the biggest news there was, I think, probably, or the biggest news is the fact that it's desperation. The MCU's bringing back Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. He's not going to be a version of he can't be a version of Doctor Doom that's just going to be doing a cameo. The fact that you would even bring him out means that he's going to be the actual mainline Doom, and the whole change of going from Kane to Doom. And I mean, I kind of saw this and I watched it and I'm like, I don't know, but I kind of want to hear you guys' thoughts before I go into it. So I don't know which one of you guys want to pick up this mantle.
Well,
I'll jump in.
Oh, go for it, Chris. Go for it.
Oh, what I'm curious of is if they're going to say that he literally is Victor Von Doom, or because this is the multiverse saga, if he is a bad Tony Stark variant from another universe who becomes Doctor Doom and crosses over.
Well, that's what I'm trying to understand too. But I'm feeling like, I mean, it's hard to say. And 4 or 5 years ago, I would have given Marvel the benefit of the doubt of this announcement, but because of recent events, I really can't do that. And I'm like, if he's like a variant of the universe, of the multiverse that would show up, then you would probably maybe not even really announce it, right? I mean, that's even bigger thing. Like, oh shit, who came up? It's Robert Downey Jr. is back in this. People would flock to the movies.
Sure,
but I don't know. I just feel like it's.
I wonder if he's going to be Tony Stark variant, so that they can leave aside the real Victor Von Doom to be a future enemy for the Fantastic Four in one of their solo movies.
I mean, I guess the speculation outside, but when you saw this, what did you think? I mean, like, what? I guess, Chris, you pin it on the head. It's like, okay, is he a variant? Is he the real thing? What's going on? Anything else?
So it could be interesting in how they execute it, but it just so obviously reeks of desperation because of the fact that the MCU has not been doing as well since Endgame. You know, they got too bloated in terms of TV shows on Disney Plus, with some of them being very subpar. The movies got too dependent on the Disney Plus shows and have not been doing as well. And yeah, they've had a recent rebound with Deadpool and Wolverine doing so well, but you know, they still have all of these structural problems with Multiverse Saga that we are now 4 years into the Multiverse Saga, and we still have no idea what it's building up to. So yeah, now we have Doctor Doom as the replacement for Kang, but like, what is this all leading up to? You know, the genius of the first 3 phases, which of course were not planned to develop this way at the beginning, is but once they crystallized, Purple Man wants stones, Purple Man bad, don't let Purple Man get stones.
Yeah, it's that simple. Yeah.
It's a
like
simple
we just talked about
storyline.
with Prodigy. Yeah, it's the same thing
Yeah.
we just talked about Prodigy. It's a simple storyline.
Simple storyline to follow and to develop across the 22 films that made up phases 1 to 3. All of these movies we've had in phases 4 and 5, what is the fucking point?
Yeah. Why do I want to see them?
I don't know what the point is. And now that we're switching mid-game from Kang to Doctor Doom, it's even more for me up in the air. What is the fucking point?
Yeah.
Right. And why do I want to go?
I think, why do I care? So that's the problem that Marvel has not answered. They have not crystallized why we should give a fuck about all of this multiverse stuff. So, and I don't think that that's going to happen anytime soon until we get to Avengers Doomsday, that it'll all be clear. But it's like, it should have been clear long before this.
Yes.
And some of these movies probably should not have been made or should have been done very differently. Like, you know, I think possibly the worst movie in all of the MCU is Quantumania.
Oh my god!
Like I'll even say it's worse than Iron Man 2 and Incredible Hulk, which are very mid movies but not bad. Quantumania is straight up trash.
I like Incredible Hulk a lot.
I still haven't watched it.
It's got a problem.
I still haven't watched it entirely. Quantumania. It's sitting,
especially now that Kang is out.
Yeah, it's sitting in my Disney Plus queue, where I stopped watching it a year ago when I was in the Tesla supercharger watching this, and I'm like, this is stupid. And I'm like, 20 minutes in, I'm like, and every time I see it when I go to Disney Plus, I'm like, next. And it just,
now you're definitely not missing anything by skipping it. So,
man,
yeah, it doesn't. I don't know. So, bro, what about you?
Yeah, I can only speak for myself. When I saw the news, I was thrilled that he was coming back because I'm fresh off of Oppenheimer, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and his performance in that movie is everything to me, man. I was reminded that this guy kills it every time he's in front of a camera, man, and see him coming back to the MCU is great. Here's what I'm afraid of. He's going to be. They're saying that he is actually legitimately Victor Von Doom. At least that was what was reported in Variety. But it's like, how does that work? When people see his face, they're going to see Tony Stark, and it's going to trigger a lot of people, especially Peter Parker. Peter Parker, as established from previous Spider-Man movies, he had dealt with a lot when Tony Stark died. And it's definitely felt in the second film a lot.
I think you're missing the point on that, though. So, bro, it's not even the fact of him that. What was the lifeblood of the phase 1 through 3? It wasn't the comic book people. It was all the other people that got excited about this. Now you're going to say people that are going to say, "Oh, Robert Downey Jr. was Iron Man. Yeah. He died in Endgame.
Right.
Now he's back as this."
Yeah,
like
that's my point.
I get maybe
that's what I was building up to. Is that because you're having a well-known actor. This is not like a situation where you have I forget the name of the actress that was the lead of the Eternals, the Asian actress that was in there, but she played a bit part in Captain Marvel as a Kree soldier. No one recognized her in that makeup, right? And no one remembers she was even in that movie, and then seeing her. Well, Chris Evans was in a whole different studio system, but now things have tied things together. But no one, that's not that big of a leap when seeing the same actress play two people. The same thing happened with another situation,
Michelle Yeoh played two characters.
Yeah, Michelle. That's who I was thinking of. So Michelle Yeoh. You got Alfre Woodard did as well. See, that's
Mahershala Ali.
You can overlook that. But you cannot overlook this. When people run into Doctor Doom, and you know he's going to take off the mask at some point, because it's Robert Downey Jr. playing him, and he's getting paid $50 million per movie, so he's going to show its face. It's going to fuck with people. and it's gonna fuck with certain characters. What I don't want to see, two things. Number one, that when he takes off the mask, that people treat him like that he has a completely different face, because I'll be annoyed by that. And number two, you have to bridge why this man that looks like Tony Stark is now Doctor Doom. You need to make a story that's good enough to be able to bridge this shit. I'm cool with him being a variant of Tony Stark that happened to stumble into this. And according to the producers behind Marvel, we're going to see him a lot sooner than expected. They just started shooting Fantastic Four. So I'm assuming that at least in the tag of that film, we're going to get a taste of Doctor Doom. But this has got to pull at the heartstrings when it happens. I want to feel the angst and the anguish of him returning, and a man who is known as the hero of the world now being the worst villain they ever faced. I need to feel that.
But how did it make you feel when you saw it, though?
When I saw it, I was cool with it. I was cool with it because in my head, I'm thinking of scenarios and how this is going to fuck with the chemistry of the cast and the characters and all that stuff. To me, I'm excited about it, but I'm trepidatious as well because I don't want to see this bother. I'm excited because it's Robert Downey Jr. returning. He's a fantastic actor. We've been waiting to see who's going to play Doom. Doom has been played poorly 2 times, if not 3 if you include the movie from the 90s. In the hands of Robert Downey Jr. and good writers, I know he's going to knock this out the park. I've got no worries about him playing the role. I'm worried about the logistics of it all and the fact that they only got 1 of the 2 writers back that I'm looking forward to seeing return. I believe they got Marcus back, but they're still working on McFeely, or it's one or the other. But they don't have both of them, and they're the ones that wrote both of the previous 2 Avengers movies. If they're going to take on this weight, I kind of want to see them both come back because they've rewritten a lot of lore from Marvel very well. And I have the faith that they can do this. Could they have found a different actor? Sure. And there's plenty of talented actors out there they could have pulled, but they have to have some kind of. Go ahead.
You just brought up the greatest point. They're paying the guy over $50 million.
They sure are, and he's going to get $100 million per movie if the movie performs over a certain amount.
So just think about that.
$80 million for the Russos.
Yeah.
So let's just think about this business wise,
right?
In the aspect of. I think you're probably talking with just that, and then the other people involved,
yes,
and the countless amount of CGI. You're probably talking about $300 and $400 million,
sure,
just in the production, and then add probably another 100 for the marketing,
right?
So they're living in a world that is 2019, thinking that it's going to be a Marvel movie, it's going to make $1 billion,
yeah,
and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem.
It's a gamble, and it's a
no. It's not a gamble.
It is because this movie could tank, which I don't think it will. When you have Robert Downey Jr. in here, it's like getting 21 at blackjack and buying insurance. That's basically.
I don't care how good. I don't care how good the actor.
It's an issue of you're costing so much on the front end. This movie's got to can't just do well. It's got to do.
It's got to do $1 billion at least. Well. Yes, it's got to do $1 billion at least. And there lies the gamble. The movie could only make $500 million, and that would be a tank. That would be a failure if that movie only made $500 million with the expenses.
I don't care how
each one of these 2 movies has to make $1 billion at least.
And I don't care how good of an actor he is because he's a great actor.
Yeah.
He is a great actor, but I've seen him in a lot of movies where he's been a great actor.
Sure.
But it's a shit movie because it's a bad movie. And I don't know. I'm with Chris. I feel like it's a desperate ploy for a movie studio that just doesn't realize what they're doing anymore.
I won't discount that.
And lost sight of what made them popular.
Sure.
I mean, they're losing sight of what made them popular.
But this is also something you do when you write the ship, which is something they have to definitely write, because there's no through line to the story. As Chris brought up,
but
when it came to the first 3 phases, you could see the through line. It formed organically. It was there.
Think about, so go back to 2007.
Mm-hmm.
Iron Man comes out. The first 2 weeks, who goes and watches it? All the comic book nerds.
Okay.
But people find out how awesome this movie is.
Yeah.
Because of what it is.
Sure.
So you have the people that aren't the comic book people in there, and they like it. So this is always the problem. You're now gonna have the same situation. How many years later? 15 years later, that you're going to be sitting there and doing the same thing, and they're going to go, "Wait, wasn't that the guy in Iron Man? Why is he here?"
Sure.
I'm honestly saying that that's like the biggest problem with this whole situation.
This is not something that you can just dump on us. We know of him coming back to play the character, but we don't know the context yet. We're going to learn the context because there's a lot of movies leading up to it.
You're talking about you. You're not. I'm sitting there saying,
sure.
What made those movies $1 billion wasn't the comic book fucking nerds.
Okay.
It was the people.
Sure.
Yes.
I understand.
And they're going to sit there and go, didn't he die 3 years ago or 4 years ago? However long ago Endgame was, and wasn't he Iron Man? Now you're telling me he's evil?
Yeah, but the mysteries is what they're hoping that will put butts in seats.
So stupid.
Yeah,
it's the dumbest thing ever.
And again, it's a gamble. It's a gamble.
I don't think him coming back in I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think that's kind of an overblown scenario. I think it's more just a question of, given the lackluster performance of the MCU in these last two phases, is anyone going to care enough? And can Robert Downey Jr. led Avengers movies in 2026 and 2027 each gain over $1 billion?
Therein lies the rub. Look,
that's the question.
Because that would be the question of like this: is if dude that was Kane didn't do what he did and lose his job,
yes,
and those movies somewhat performed, would we be in this situation? Let's even say that. Even if he did what he did, supposedly he did.
Right.
But let's say all those movies performed better than they did.
Right.
Would we even be in this position?
No.
Would we show?
No, if they had a better plan, and if they had spent more time on the quality of the films, we wouldn't be here right now. But I will say this: Deadpool and Wolverine is going to reach $1 billion real soon, and that's a rated R film. A rated R film with a bunch of cameos. These movies, the two Avengers movies that are coming out, are going to be laden with characters that we've never seen interact before. We're going to get mutants. We're going to get X-Men. We're going to get Hugh Jackman back in those movies.
Which is great for the
and we're going to get Deadpool as well. But if Deadpool and Wolverine can just perform as well as it did as a rated R film with a bunch of cameos in it, what do you think that these two movies are going to do? And I'm basing its success.
It doesn't even compare, dude.
I don't know. I
wouldn't even compare them because Deadpool is its own thing.
Okay. It's its own thing.
It's not really tying into the wider storyline, and it's the third of a series of movies that were both very well liked and enormously successful.
Right. But they are going to have several things in common.
Deadpool's already coming in all guns blazing.
Sure.
Yeah.
And who said
Disney's only putting up with it because it's making money.
Well,
if the first Deadpool movie didn't do what it did, this would have been gone. Well, you have to kind of put it in this aspect of like,
let's do this.
That's really what it is.
Let's do this.
They're just tolerating.
I'm willing to put my pride on the line here.
Okay.
I think these movies are going to do very fucking well. And it is
what's very well.
At least $1 billion a piece, I think they're going to make. These two movies.
You're going to throw down a Sobro guarantee 3 years out?
I'm going to throw it down 3 years out. I'm going to do it now. I believe they're going to do very well. I have faith in these guys.
You want to take it, Chris?
Yeah. You guys can shit on me. You guys, what's today's date? The 9th of August, 2024. Stream? Stream, write it down.
What's of the $1 billion Marvel movies from back then? I mean, it's not going to do like Endgame and Infinity War, but like what would be comparable to it? Captain Marvel maybe, or
Captain Marvel.
First Captain Marvel made over $1 billion.
Yeah.
I want to say.
So you're saying these two movies will do better, even though the last few movies, I don't think have they even reached $1 billion?
These two, once they start to reveal who's in it and who's coming back for this, yes, I think these two movies are going to make a mint. And
what do you mean, who's coming back? Like the characters or the actors?
The actors and the characters. They're going to bring everybody back. It's
everybody's going to care.
Everybody's coming back. Yeah, I'm.
So what do you? So you're saying? So what did
worldwide?
Captain Marvel
these movies
do?
will breach $1 billion a piece, which I think
what did Captain Marvel do? Anyone?
Captain Marvel did over $1 billion worldwide. Yeah.
So what do you think? Inflation, what, 1.2 billion?
I'm not saying $1 billion worldwide.
So you're saying across
each one of these
$1
movies.
billion.
So each of the 2 movies have to make $1 billion at least.
So
minimum,
it would be
worldwide.
at least $1 billion total, not together. Okay, yeah, I'll take that.
I think the hype leading into this.
I don't think they will.
I think the tone is going to change. There's 4 movies coming out next year. These
I'm sure
4 movies
the
have
tone
to
will
be
change.
fucking good in order to build up momentum. And if they're not, I'm in danger of eating crow. But yes, I believe both these films, each one will make $1 billion. We'll see.
And going back to the news story is, I don't think they have it because a desperation move.
Yes.
Of bringing him back, because what was Marvel back in the day? Hey, we cast this person to be Thor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's stupid. Fuck you. Even when they casted Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, everybody's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
I was one of those people.
Trust us, right? They're like, "Trust us."
Accurate.
Yeah, so.
According to Wikipedia, just so we can have our baseline set here,
Sure.
Infinity War cost between $325 to $400 million. Don't know if that includes the marketing or not. Probably not. Its box office worldwide was $2 billion.
Yes.
Endgame, budget of $356 to $400 million. Global box office just under $2.8 billion.
Exactly.
I will say these next 2 Avengers movies will not make anywhere near the amount of money that Infinity War and Endgame made, because the key difference is,
I agree,
you had years and years of built-up anticipation toward these 2 movies that everybody was looking forward to. Nobody is really looking forward to Doomsday and Secret Wars.
Yeah.
You have a grand finale, and you've had years of just mid movies. There's no anticipation.
I think the sum of
Robert
its
Downey
part
Jr. I think will boost it.
Yes,
but he's not enough to make these movies gigantic successes.
But when you add Tobey Maguire, when you add Wesley Snipes, when you add all these potential appearances from people, I think it's going to cross the finish line of $1 billion a piece per movie. We'll see, but I'm just saying it's not going to reach the heights. It's not going to reach the heights that the other 2 movies did. But I think they'll be profitable.
You need the mainstream people to care about that.
Sure.
Because Chris brings up the great point. You've had 4 or 5 movies at this point that have been the suck. And or just not that good, and you can keep the comic book people coming,
certainly,
but their friends that were the non-comic book people, why am I going to come do this now? Like, and it's changed. I mean, even the fact of the thing is the cinemas have a harder time even getting people in there now. I mean, I know you're going to say Wolverine and Deadpool, but that's a whole different story, because
I don't see
it's
how
just
it is.
It's a different movie. Oh, it's a completely different movie.
It's a spectacle film, just like these 2 movies are going to be a spectacle film. So I honestly,
it's completely
with
different.
The crossovers coming left, right, and center.
It's an R-rated dick joke movie, dude.
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's
not the only reason why people are going to see it.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
What did they go to see Deadpool? What did they go see Deadpool and Wolverine for? The world building it was going to do to what?
Hugh Jackman playing the character one more time when we thought that he wasn't
going
to.
The comic book,
and finally crossing over with Deadpool, and then
and it's also in a class. What other movies does it compete with right now? Like, that's the other problem. There's no other movies out there. Nobody gives a shit about. There's nothing being produced because of these strikes and everything. There's nothing there, man. Like, I get it. I get the optimism that you're having, but this just reeks of desperation on this. And
I'm not going to.
I mean, unless they do a radical shift, and like you even said, they don't even have one of the writers that you'd want to be on there. Like, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. can do a lot of good things, but he can't make shit out of fucking. You can't make wine out of shit. I mean,
just because it's desperate doesn't mean it can't be a masterstroke in retrospect. And again, it's how they build this ladder. So that's basically an integral part of this.
But
we'll see what happens.
Past performance is the best predictor of future performance.
Sure,
their past performance,
but not always.
not been good. Not always. Okay.
I give you
there's a anomaly.
Here's Ellis. I'll throw this down.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Deadpool and Wolverine is a very successful movie, but I would say it's not an indicator that future Avengers movies will be successful.
That's fair.
So the real question will be next year: how do movies like New World Order and Thunderbolts perform?
Exactly.
Is Deadpool and Wolverine going to indicate a return to form for the MCU and getting back to the heights that they used to be at in the first three phases, or is it a one-off? And are those two movies going to be more mid and just have middling performance? And if those movies are very successful, I think that will build up more hype for these Avengers movies. If those movies next year in 2025 from phase 5 and 6 are just kind of meh, not going to be that anticipation going into Doomsday and Secret War.
That'll douse out the fire pretty badly, and I'm with you there on that. They have to. It's all on how they move from here. It's all on how they move from here. So we'll see what happens.
I gotta say, seeing the trailers of like New World Order, I'm not super excited about it. Even with Harrison Ford in it as Ross and Red Hulk, it's just like I don't know. Like it's just it's not really caught my attention. And mind you, I like Sam Wilson, I like Anthony Mackie, but it's just not doing it for me in that trailer that they debuted recently. So, will they set themselves apart in the build up to this? That is the biggest unknown question. So that's what I will say. If 2025's slate performs well, then these Avengers movies will do well. If it doesn't, then it's gonna really hurt leading into those movies.
Yeah.
And I want these movies to be good.
Same.
But I've also soured on the Russos a lot since Infinity War and Endgame with just their very dickish attitudes about Martin Scorsese, and also being like weird promoters of like AI generated movies because they're invested in a business that does that, and they're talking about like you just get your own movie generated that you star in when you come home from work and you just want to like, no, this is like these guys are full of shit, and like I like am not excited about them coming back because they really just seem like a pair of shitheads.
Ooh, man. I didn't know about all that. Holy shit.
Yeah, they're invested in some like AI production company. And trying to sell up that you can just give a prompt and a movie will be generated with you in it and it'll be amazing. And it's like, that's not anything that any creative person in Hollywood should be pumping up. That's like Silicon Valley tech bro nonsense. Like, what the fuck is wrong with y'all?
Yeah.
Like, that is so creatively bankrupt, and I hate the whole idea of it.
Yeah, it sounds like the wrong path.
That makes me not want to see anything these guys want to do in the future.
Damn.
So, I know that them coming back was Downey's condition for coming back. But I'm not excited about them being the directors of this just because of their like they leave the sour taste in my mouth of Weiss and Benioff.
Oh, nice pull. Nice pull.
So yeah, I'm not excited about them coming back, and I'm sure Downey will pull off an interesting performance, but I think that MCU is crumbling under its own weight. It is literally becoming like the comics of just too many
things,
storylines that don't work, too much retcons, starting to have too many characters going in too many directions. Like it really has
cameos,
become like a comic, like a comic universe. In all the bad ways. And Solbro, not a criticism of you specifically, but like, in your defense of these movies, potentially you're talking about all of the appearances and whatnot. Like that should not be what sells a movie. It should be, is it a good story?
Yeah.
And is it well made? Not how many fucking cameos are there of superheroes from other movies. That is really the sign. That is really the sign that these movies have lost all creative impulses if they are sold entirely on the fact of
on spectacle alone.
Like, I'm not going to deny that Deadpool and Wolverine is an incredibly dumb movie buoyed by a lot of cameos.
Yeah.
But it knows that it's a dumb movie and it's not aspiring to be anything more than a dumb movie. It revels in it. It knows what it is.
Yeah.
But if a self-serious Avengers movie comes along, it's just like the biggest selling point is the head of we managed to get even more people in than Infinity War and Endgame. Like, that's not a positive. That's not a selling point to me. That's not a good thing. That's just, counting off characters on a checklist and saying, "Come look at this, look, all these people being on screen." Like that's not appealing to me.
Yeah, it seems procedural.
I equate this to Marvel's first real big comic book crossover, Secret Wars, the original Secret Wars.
Right.
So the first Secret Wars, highly successful, did great, had great tie-ins, knew what it was, took a fantastical idea, made it work. Read Secret Wars 2, where the Beyonder comes back to the Earth, and it's, instead of just like a couple of comic book tie-ins outside of the main series, everything under the sun. And it's night and day. And I think that Chris brought up the greatest point, because comics have done this forever. They have a great idea, and then they do a sequel to it, and it just, their thing is bigger, faster, more stuff, and it just, they lose sight on what made the original thing good. And I think that's the problem that you have right now, is it's just what made the original first 3 phases good. Like Chris said, Purple Guy, this and that. It starts off, people, special abilities, unite, they start to get together, Purple Guy shows up, Purple Guy wants rings, he wants stones, and all these things, Purple Guy bad, we have to stop him. Like, where is that with this? I mean, even if we didn't have this issue with that guy, with the actor, what was the point of Kang stuff? Like, I mean, you're talking about big 180 on this. I don't know. I mean, I still don't know. And there was like countless tie-in TV shows and movies. And I mean, it actually had more than what was going for it for the original Marvel phases.
Yeah.
They didn't have TV shows.
Nope.
But this did. And
that's
it's
what I
Mm-hmm.
would want to see in the future, maybe from phases 7 onward, if it lasts that long.
I don't think I'll say that.
I don't think we need to try to repeat the formula of the multiverse saga of multiple phases building up to one big finale. You already did it once. You cannot top it. Like, I'm sorry, even if you're bringing the X-Men and the Fantastic Four, that just means you added more people. But they already went as high as they could go with Infinity War and Endgame. They're never going to surpass that.
I don't think so.
Rather, these movies be self-contained, still acknowledging each other, but be self-contained. And every few years, you do an Avengers movie where some new bad guy shows up just for the purpose of that movie, and it's like, hey, let's get the team back together and go spank this guy, and then we go about our separate business again. And then in a couple of years, you do another movie, same thing.
Yeah.
Not have these massive stories built up because it is crumbling under its own weight from too many movies and too many TV shows. And I feel like less involved story where it's like you get an all-star lineup of Avengers every few years fighting a new big bad just for that movie, I think is a much better approach than what they're trying to do now.
I hear you. That's what's up. I know we're running out of time, but there are a few other quick touches that we can make on news that dropped from San Diego Comic-Con. Star Trek had a lot of stuff that dropped. Before that, you guys know I'm a big fan of the Energon universe. They had a panel there at Comic-Con and talked about upcoming issues and storylines that are playing out in the Energon universe in the next couple of months. The biggest news they had was they're launching a G.I. Joe ongoing comic series. So if you guys have been reading the solo miniseries like Duke, Cobra Commander, and the ongoing series of Scarlet and Destro, when Scarlet and Destro come to an end in October, G.I. Joe starts in November, and that'll be the ongoing continuation of those stories. They dropped a bunch of artwork for the different characters that are going to be in it, the redesigns of certain characters. They talked about a new character by the name of Risk, who is a Native American character who kind of has a chip on his shoulder and looks cool. He kind of looks like a modern day Marshall Brave story. Not really, but he looks cool as hell, man. I like his design a lot. But yeah, also Void Rivals is definitely getting more infused into the Transformers storyline. And you got a villain from G.I. Joe showing up in Void Rivals come issue 13, and that's Pythona from Cobra Law. So there's big, exciting things coming up for the Energon universe.
Yeah, note to Disney: get the rights to this. let Marvel die, and
that ain't gonna happen. This is all within
Hasbro.
Paramount.
Yeah, Hasbro and Paramount. So
Hasbro and Paramount got their thing. So
yeah, they'll
I
definitely.
really wonder, just as a quick aside.
Yeah,
Paramount really regrets not buying Marvel, or at least not buying the exclusive rights to MCU movies, because if you'll recall, they were the original distributor of most of the Phase 1 movies, aside from Incredible Hulk, which is distributed by Universal, and then Disney bought out the rights to Avengers and Iron Man 3. So Paramount had a chance to really make some big cash between Transformers and the MCU.
Woo.
And they sold off the distro rights to Avengers and Iron Man 3 for chump change, and then Disney took it to the bank laughing because Avengers and Iron Man 3 $1 billion. So I wonder how much, well, not buyer's remorse, but non-buyer's remorse there is at Paramount over the MCU.
Well, you just saw they cut 15% of their workforce for Paramount Plus. So I'm sure a big amount. Yeah, it's a bad move. Yeah.
It's crazy, man. The future that could have been for them if they had just been more astute and recognized it for what it was. But the question is, would it have played out?
It's the typical thing in business. It's better to take some of something than none of something.
Fair point.
It's always better to get some of it than not get any of it, and that's what they did.
Absolutely.
So,
Chris, real quick, I know you're a big Doctor Who. Well, at least at one point, you're a big Doctor Who stan. How do you feel about the crossover between Star Trek and Doctor Who, at least game-wise? I know they crossed over before in the comics, but apparently they announced a kind of a partnership between Star Trek and Doctor Who. I forget what it is. Something is friendship or something like that. And they even put out a trailer kind of promoting the things that both series have in common. Did you see any of that?
No, I mean, I heard about it. Yeah, I'm a fan, obviously, of both franchises. I would much rather see a live action cover, and obviously there's enough Star Trek in production that you could have your choice of what to work with. Doctor Who and Star Trek, they both have a very shoddy history when it comes to video games, that's not the most exciting prospect.
Fair point. I just found it interesting that that was part of their panel at Comic-Con. But also at their panel at Comic-Con, they showed the trailer for Section 31. So if you haven't seen that, guys, definitely go check that out. That is coming in I believe in early 2025. They showed a bit piece of Strange New Worlds. I think one of you guys had something to say about Captain Pike. Was that what that had to do with Neo?
Well, I just saw the thing where they do the old Switcher thing where they're gonna make them into Vulcans. I guess they're gonna be doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know. People were going crazy about it. The fact of in past Trek, we've always seen Captain Kirk became a Romulan and stuff like that, where they do the genetic alterations, but it doesn't change really their personality.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a trailer. I mean, it turned them all into Vulcans where they're like, this is illogical and all that. I guess I don't know if it's just a funny haha thing and it's not going to be what the final thing of it was, but I just found it interesting that people were kind of going off about it. Quite frankly, I didn't really care.
It looks like the start of another whimsical Spock episode. There's at least one a season, so maybe that's.
I don't know, Chris. What do you think about it? Did you see it where I was talking? And I mean, I don't know. I thought it was kind of overblown for it.
Well, I mean, it is different from what they've done in the past because in the past it's always just cosmetic surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this case, it's literal genetic alteration. So, it makes sense that they're changing the way that they do because what they're doing is not the same as what's been done before.
Which people were saying like how does this work with the whole non-genetic alterization thing that's within the Starfleet? So
yeah, and also, man, Pike's Vulcan hair sure is something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's like it's like they saw all the memes for the last few years about Pike's hair, and they were like, "Hold my beer."
Hold my beer.
Exactly.
Yes.
So I don't know, and obviously, they're not going to show a clip like of anything resolving the cliffhanger of where the season finale left off with the Gorn and all that. But
right, because it has to be resolved.
Yeah, I don't know if this was the best choice to introduce the season.
Yeah.
I'm still looking forward to season 3, but they might have gone a different route in terms of what they're choosing to promote, other than the resolution of the cliffhanger. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see.
Yeah.
They did announce that Lower Decks season 5 will start on October 24th, so it's a little later than what we're used to. Usually, it's this month, August. We've been gearing up to watch it this month, but it looks like, according to Mike McMahon, their episodes are a little longer than the normal season episode length, because they crammed as much as they could into this final season. So it's like, that's super cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have in store for us come October. But last but not least, they announced that a Star Trek sitcom is on the way, and it's going to be produced by Justin Simeon, the director of Dear White People, initially a movie, but also became a sitcom on Netflix as well. And also, one of the key writers on there and producers will be Tawny Newsome, who we all know as the voice of Mariner on Star Trek Lower Decks, who's also writing on Starfleet Academy. They had some things to say about Starfleet Academy as well. Some announcement of cast, some of the young cadets that were announced as well. But it's a half-hour sitcom, takes place in the 25th century, so the era that Picard ended in. And it takes place on a Federation resort planet. The day-to-day exploits that are being broadcast to the entire quadrant. So it seems like it might be Parks and Rec / The Office type show, like the everyday lives of these people, and
it may work.
Yeah, it may work. I'm excited for it. If they, depending on how they execute this, it could be really cool. Any thoughts, fellas?
I'm not against any of the concepts. And at the very least, it's like, can we just have the fans not whining endlessly of, nobody asked for this, why aren't they listening to the fans and doing Legacy?
Exactly.
And you know what? I really fucking wish that Terry Mentos had not ever fucking said the words Star Trek Legacy. I really fucking wish he had not said those words, because those 3 words have just become like fucking...
That's a flag to die on.
I'm so sick hearing about fan complaints of Star Trek Legacy and the continued cry of get rid of Kurtzman and nobody wants these things and this is gonna be woke, and it's like, can you please just stop being insufferable for 2 seconds? Discovery's over. Mm-hmm. Discovery's over. Y'all got what you wanted. It's gone. Stop complaining.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Kurtzman his due. Little that the people know, Kurtzman kept actors and staff paid for their ongoing shows during the strikes. He's actually, it's been a stand-up dude for Star Trek, and he's taken a lot of heat from myself as well. Like, initially, I wanted him to have nothing to do with the franchise after seeing some of the stuff they worked on, but over the last 5 years, I've been turned around, man, and I think a lot. I think highly of him now, as opposed to before. So I'm definitely not going to poo-poo this idea, and I want to see exactly where Star Trek goes in this new phase. So, Neo, any thoughts before we wrap things up?
I think it's just good. I think they're doing the anti-Star Wars, the anti-Disney thing. Is like, maybe you just need to do something different.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to have it, but not everything has to be, based off of the original things. And I'm not against it. It just doesn't. It doesn't make any sense to, just sit there and keep going back to the well. Yeah, I mean, we just talked about it. Prodigy was a 20, 30-minute episode thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it works. Like, and I'm with you, Chris. I'm tired of Star Trek Legacy 2 and the Enterprise G and all this other stuff. And I never thought I'd get to the point where I'm just like, I don't want to see an Enterprise in a Star Trek show, but I'm at that point right now just because of the fans.
I don't want to see this Enterprise. Not anything against what Picard did. I know a lot. There's still so many people mad about turning the Titan into the Enterprise G. You know what? That it happened. It's over. Move on with your life. But you know, Terry Matalas, he's moved on. He's at Marvel now. Like he's not gonna do Legacy. They're not gonna do like just leave it alone. Move on with your life. And you know, Star Trek, I think, does in modern era does best when it does its own thing. These 5 shows that we've had now have all been very different. Star Wars is going in a more generic route. You know, they found a lot of great success with Mando. You know, they tried to replicate that formula, and then you know they go a different direction slightly with the Acolyte, and the racists just are not having any of it. Star Wars fans, I think, are just a lost cause. Yes, there's a lot of crossover between Star Trek and Star Wars fans, but like, there's way too many fucking racists in the Star Wars fandom, and it's just way too damn toxic. Yeah. And you know, they just the racists will never let Star Wars be what it could be as long as they have a voice that Disney feels the need to listen to.
Jesus, yeah, I agree.
You know, they got a tailor-made movie for themselves in Rise of Skywalker, and they still weren't happy.
Yeah, it's just
was so bad.
But that's what they wanted.
Acolyte, it's not anything amazing, and it's also not anything terrible.
Yes,
but you know, you hear them talk about it, and it's the worst
thing ever made, right?
Oh, Kiadi Mundi is older than we thought because the CD-ROM from 1999 said that he was this age, and you know now Anakin's not special if witches can create people out of the Force, and it's so woke and DEI. It's like, oh my, it's like, you know what? I just have to wonder at this point, like, why does any actor of color want to be in Star Wars? Like,
yeah,
it's just it ain't fucking worth it. Like there's
no
amount of money that makes it worth it, especially because Disney's going to leave you hanging out to dry. Disney will not protect you.
Sure won't.
Disney will not do anything at all to fight the racists because they need the money of the racists.
You're on your own.
But that guy that played Finn, John Boyega, basically said he was like, yeah, I don't want to deal with this. It's like, yeah, it's a payday. It's gonna be great for my career, but is it really gonna be great for my career because I got to deal with this?
Yeah.
I mean, I just read the girl that was Rey has got like some like disease, and she thought initially it was because of some stress because she's so stressed out about till now by playing that role. Like, I mean, yeah. So in terms of this thing with Star Trek, I think in the end, the Star Trek fans are a lot less annoying, even though they are kind of annoying. But I think this...
I don't know if I'd say a less. It's like, they're less annoying. I don't know if I'd say a lot less.
Yeah, that might be giving them too much credit. But I think with this...
Give them too much credit.
I'm open to it. I was, after with Prodigy, and now I feel that Star Trek is what I used to feel about the MCU. They'll just tell me MCU used to tell me they're going to do something, and I was like, oh, okay, that sounds different, but I'm sure it'll be good because have they failed me yet? And that's kind of the way I feel at this point. MCU, it's like, I'll just wait for it to go on Disney Plus, and not even on the paid option, not on the early access option. I'll just wait for it to go. Fuck Ant-Man 3. I'll never finish that movie. Fuck that movie.
There's no need.
Never finish that movie.
There's literally no need to.
Yo, it's a joke.
It's just, yeah, exactly when I heard it. It's like, especially now, like there's no King. Fuck that movie. So, I feel bad for Paul Rudd, but yeah, I'm sure he's okay.
He'll be back.
The millions he made on that, so not a big deal.
There you go.
But anything else?
Nah, man, that's basically it. A lot of news came out, but I know we're running up on time. But props to everybody who tuned in today, man. Thanks for rocking with us and joining us for the review.
Quick question though. Did you guys did you guys really were you used to monitoring what was coming out of San Diego Comic-Con like you used to back in the day, or you're just like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll just find out later? Like, I honestly was like, I actually forgot that it was going on. I knew it was going on because I remember seeing it on TV, like when I wake up in the morning to go to work and I'm watching the news for the traffic, it'll come up. I remember it was coming, and then I was like, oh yeah, that weekend I was like, oh yeah, Comic-Con's going on. That's when I heard the whole thing about the Doctor Doom thing. I was like, oh yeah.
Honestly, I pay more attention to Nintendo Direct.
Yeah,
more excitement about those.
The only thing about SDCC I set my watch for was the Energon Universe panel, which I
one of the dudes won an Eisner Award too.
Yeah,
right? I saw
Daniel Warren Johnson won 2 Eisner Awards for the art and the writing for Transformers. So yeah, he fucking. For those who don't know, that's the Oscars of comics. Yeah, he won it that same night.
I do give that convention that they never got rid of that portion of it, because they could have easily just given in and just like they're still highly into the comics. Like it's still a true comic book convention, but they could have given it away a long time ago. So I do kind of give them that, but I'm sure the people that are making that happen, they'll probably die soon, because they're probably they've been there for a long time.
They're talking about moving it, they're talking about moving it to either Vegas or LA. So we'll see if it happens.
You don't want to move it to Vegas.
Vegas is, I think, the ideal place for it, to be honest.
Why?
There's no limit to the hotel rooms you can get. There's no limit to the size. They have one of the biggest convention centers in the world. I think it'd be, and it's right up the street from Vegas. People could take the bullet train from LA to there if you wanted to. There's
the bullet train. What bullet train? Are you
keep in mind, I watch Evo every year from Vegas, and it's been the perfect venue for that for over almost 2 decades now. So I'm just saying, just from that alone, and going to Evo and going to Comic-Con, I can easily tell you that I think it's better off in Vegas than it would be in San Diego. So that's just me being a person who's been to both events. I can tell you.
Nah, it'd be better in LA.
If you say so.
Well, no,
with the
LA
traffic,
Convention Center.
With the traffic there, sure, I guess.
Yeah, have you been to Vegas and the traffic there?
What, you don't need it. You can take transit there anyway. And I'll run off in the mountain.
What transit are you? What bullet train are you talking about, dude?
There's all sorts of
the one that's planned, that's not even like been broken ground of yet, or they broke some of the ground. That's like a boondoggle. Like,
guys, it's cool. Just take Elon Musk's slime tunnel.
There you go.
That goes
toxic slime tunnel. It's all good.
That goes to like, I think that goes to what, MGM to like what, Aria or something.
It's fine. It's like 1 mile, and you just get the toxic slime dripping on your skin. It's fine.
And from what I hear, it takes you like 45 minutes to do that 1 mile because there's like 2 Teslas.
It's cool. It's fine.
Oh my god! Especially the heat. Oh my god! July in Vegas. Good luck with that.
It is hot. I'm not going front. I damn near fucking caught the vapors when I was walking the strip in Vegas in 2010, and I can't imagine how hot it is now. That's the one big thing, is the weather. Weather is like the big detractor. I think everything else, the amount of restaurants. I heard nightmares about people trying to get food this year in San Diego. It was not pleasant. So I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Nah, just keep it in LA. Just if you're gonna move it, bring it to LA. Don't bring it to Vegas, because we did New Year's Eve in Vegas, and it was just a giant shit show.
Yo, Yossi said move it to Detroit.
Yes. Lots of empty space in Detroit.
There's a lot of empty space. I mean, you know what?
Lots of empty space.
He may have an idea there. It's probably cool.
It's probably the Packard. Go to the Packard factory.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what about that GM tower? That's probably still open, too, right? Because I mean, they're not. And OCP's probably got.
OCP, man, they run the cops. Yes.
So, actually, you know what? I think Yazzie won on this. That makes more sense. Yeah, he's right. Move it to Detroit. Yeah, good job, Yazzie.
Done.
Exactly. If I was in charge of this, yeah.
We're bringing back Michigan, Yazzie. We're bringing them back.
Yeah.
One convention at a time.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, other than that, man, MAHQ.net, please visit. I'll go there. All the links to all the things that we do are there. If you're watching live on YouTube, please hit the follow button there on the YouTube channel. And also hit the thumbs up on this video. Leave a comment, man. Shout outs to Ed. I saw your comment that you put on the last episode. Thank you, Ed the Crimson, man. Much appreciated. And everybody else who leaves comments, thank you so much. Thanks, and continue to watch us over there on youtube.com/Gundam MAHQ. Back to you guys.
Chris, anything before we go out?
No.
All right. Well, thank you. Well, thank you everybody for joining us for episode 397 of Gundam at MAHQ. We'll be back in a few weeks with our next episode, or 297. I think I said 397. I think I'm going to the future there. So, thank you, and we'll be back in a few weeks with next episode. Talk to you guys later.
Do you think Earth has the greatest culture? Bullshit. Stop thinking you know anything about culture. You don't even know the meaning.
Defendants guilty as charged. Pardon my rude entry, but there's little time. Let's go. Holy! You'll have to deal with us first, Brainiac.
See, I've lived in Metropolis most of my life, and I can't figure out how some yokel from Smallville is suddenly getting every hot story in town.
Well, Lois, the truth is I'm actually Superman in disguise, and I only pretend to be a journalist in order to hear about disasters as they happen and then squeeze you out of the byline.
You're a sick man, Kent.
You asked.